My name is Liz, the voice behind the hands, I guess, of Heretic Owl Tarot. And I'm like, where am I looking? Here we go. Hello. I keep feeling this urge to get on here and show my face, and I don't know why that is. Why would I do that? I don't know. Um, but here I am. So when, so this urge started kind of coming to me, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what would I even do? Like, the thought of actually doing a tarot reading by like showing my face like this, no. So my other thought, and part of that is because I'm like, you'll probably notice this at some point, but I cannot hold a focus to like this little, camera lens. I look all over the place. I usually, when I'm sitting here doing tarot readings, I'm looking outside. I'm staring at trees. I'm watching birds. Like, um, so I don't know. It's like, do I can't imagine um, showing my face when I'm not even looking at, the camera because I can't hold my focus there. So I don't know. Anyway, when I kind of started thinking about like, well, what would I do? Because just wanting to honor that urge, that feeling, because it does feel good. But I was like, okay, well, what would I do instead? So then I thought, well, maybe I'll just kind of get on and like introduce myself and give some little tidbits about me. Because I don't know, have I ever really done that? I have no clue. I don't remember. But um, also too, just to say that I realized that I was a bit inconsistent last year as far as posting videos and when I was posting videos and how often, whatever. And I don't know how much of that is going to change, but I do want to make it a priority again because I really do enjoy doing this. I love I love tarot readings. I love giving them. I love receiving them. I love watching them. So, but part of the reason, and actually the actual reason why I was so inconsistent with that last year is because I felt like I was dying. Not to be dramatic, but I was basically operating at like my lowest setting, like basic survival, really. And come to find out, I was actually diagnosed with severe sleep apnea, which I believe that I've actually been suffering from since high school, which was a long time ago. But I was really relieved, though, to receive that diagnosis because also there was already like a path of treatment available, and it was then waiting for that because, of course, that took a lifetime to finally come around. But I've been on CPAP treatment since the beginning of January, actually, and I feel like a completely different person. I mean, I feel alive, which feels good. I feel rested. I feel present. It just, what a difference it makes. So I'm also convinced that everybody has sleep apnea. So if you have access to it, highly recommend a sleep study because, man, the power of sleep, right? So, anyway, I'm very excited to do my first set of videos after being on treatment for a month. I guess today would be a month. Today is February 5th. I have no clue when I'm actually going to start the actual tarot readings. I don't think I'm going to do that today, probably tomorrow. But anyway, um I'm excited. I mean, maybe nothing will change. I don't know. Maybe some things will. We'll see how it goes. But how exciting is that? It's exciting for me anyway. I also might like I don't really have this set up to do the, like the my table and me, but I might see if I can finagle something and just try it. Just, have like the camera on the table and then have like a little overlay of me in the corner. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If you don't see me up there, I didn't figure it out because I'm not super tech savvy in that type of way, but maybe eventually a solution for that will come up. But otherwise, just a little bit about me because I did kind of decide that I was making this an introduction type of thing, but I can't give you too much information because the more I remain mysterious, the better. And that is because I'm a 5/1 human design profile, manifesting generator, emotional authority. And with that 5/1 profile, the whole familiarity breeds contempt. Um, did you, if you heard Taylor Swift's song Bejeweled, she says that in there. She's a 5/1 also. So I'm like, there's no doubt somebody gave her a human design reading somewhere down the road, right? Or she could have just Googled her own chart. But anyway, so yeah, the more I remain mysterious and behind the projection of the fifth line, as long as it's a positive projection, right? Because on the other side of that is being burned at the stake. But anyway, so 5/1 manifesting generator, emotional authority, left angle cross of uncertainty. I have a lot of gates in uncertainty gates, so I'm never sure about shit. But even, like as far as like putting my face out here, right? Like part of me, like I feel like there is kind of this like evolution, just there's some sort of change I feel as far as either the way that I present videos or the way that I do them. And part of me, like a big part of me wants to wait until I figure that out. I don't know if that's my Virgo moon. I don't know what that is, but the other part of me is like, no, I mean, like we figure it out by trying, right? So you kind of like push through the uncertainty and eventually certainty shows up. So we'll see what happens. But I'm a Cancer rising, if you can't tell by my super round face. I'm also a Cancer Venus. And like I said, Virgo moon, Taurus sun. And what else? I am clearly into plants, if you can't tell. I also sell plants. I have a plant stand at a coffee shop in downtown Colorado Springs. So if you're ever in the area, check out the Perk downtown. I have my plants in there. I absolutely love it. It's so fun, but my house looks like a jungle because it's also my greenhouse. It's where I keep my property for that business. And I am attuned to Reiki master level. And before every reading, I set the intention for the message to come through me, not from me. I clear the space. I also get consent from every deck that I use in every reading. I have consent from it to use it for all 12 readings. And the way that I do that is usually there's a deck that just kind of like pops up in my mind. And I'll shuffle that deck until a card comes out. And if it's a general positive card, I take that as a yes. If it's a general negative, quote unquote, card, then I take that as a no and I'll try a different deck. I do that for all my readings, personal readings, if I'm doing an event, obviously YouTube, Instagram, which I've also been super inconsistent with and want to get back on to posting daily readings on there. But anyway, I get consent every time from the decks that I use to use them for the readings. And is there anything else? I realize like how long this actually is, and now I'm like, shut up. So is there anything else I want to tell you for now? Because I just lost my train of thought. I don't know. That's it. I'm so glad that you're here. If you watch this whole thing, thank you. Follow me on Instagram for daily readings eventually, if you care about those. And last thing I'll say is that I do my readings based on human design profile, and you don't have to know your human design profile or anything about human design in order for the message to be for you. I mean, if anything, you would have to know your human design profile, I guess, right? But you don't even have to know anything else about it. You don't have to know anything about human design. I don't generally go into very heavy human design terms. I might talk about strategy and authority sometimes, but the message is still the message for you, even if you have no clue about human design. And if you don't have any clue about human design, I'm happy that I introduced you to it, because it unlocked some stuff for me that was pivotal in my healing and self, acceptance and love journey. So anyway, I think that's all that I'll say for now. If there's anything else that I'm missing, I'll just say it in the video. And I'll see you later. Bye. Hello. Last but certainly not and never least, we have the 6-3 reading. I hope you're all doing well. I'm recording this on February 5th. We just had that new moon yesterday, which was just wreaking havoc. Not like in a bad way at all, but it's just like, what is going on? So anyway, just feeling drained, but like not at the same time, and weird like technical glitches, like Aquarius does rule like technology and that type of stuff. So just, minor inconveniences. So anyway, I hope you are all doing well. Let's get you an oracle card. I love how like this time around, because you'll see me do that motion I'm sure a fair amount of times. I'm just not sure if the camera up here is auto-focusing, and the thought of anything being blurry I just can't handle. So that's why I'm doing this. So anyway, what I was saying is that I've used these cards before, and I use them obviously like in other personal readings and stuff. And there's so many cards that have come out that I haven't even seen yet. I feel like the majority of the cards that came out I haven't even seen yet, which I love. So this says tears of joy and sadness. It's so interesting because on this side, right, this seems to be like reality, like the physical realm, right? She looks sad, and so does the cat. But in the mirror, she's smiling. The cat is smiling through, tears of joy, right? What duality? Because it's almost like not knowing how to feel about a situation, or, is it like putting on a happy face, but in reality, you don't feel happy? Very interesting. I can't wait to read about that. Let's get your tarot cards out. It's almost like being careful what you wish for. It's interesting because that cup that she's holding just reminds me of the Ace of Cups. We have the Two of Wands, the Six of Wands, Hierophant, the Devil, and the Knight of Wands. We have Fire and Earth. on the table so far. Just one more. It's too many. That came out actually in the reverse, so we'll leave it in the reverse. We have the Three of Swords at the bottom of the deck. Let me just make sure everything is in frame, and then we'll start talking about your reading. See how it was blurry? I don't know what is up with that, but it like freaks me out that that's how it's gonna look the whole time. If it does end up looking that way the whole time, then we just won't have a table view. So anyway, let's see. Tears of joy and sadness. I kind of keep getting this feeling of like something didn't turn out the way that you had hoped. It says, life is rarely simple. Let me hold this. Actually, no, I don't want to like mess with it. Sorry. I'm like, I don't want to mess with the thing and then like mess with the focus, and then that becomes a whole thing. So I'm just, roll with me here. So it says, life is rarely simple. There is no such thing as completely good or bad. Even the best outcomes may come with a price, and even the worst disasters can often have a silver lining. Loss and grief shows us the value of what we had and how lucky we were to have it. The toughest challenges give us the opportunity to rise above. That doesn't mean that the hard stuff isn't hard. Of course it is. But if you can find the positive side of even the worst events, it will help you to stay strong and keep moving forward. Maybe you can even inspire others who are dealing with their own difficulties to keep moving forward too. And I mean, that is very that is very sixth line and third line, right? Like the trial and error process, bumping up against life and experiences and people, and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, which is, even having all of these wands out here. That's like trying things. Like you have to in order to see if it does work. And then that just becomes information for you to provide other people as far as like being that role model. And it is said that the 6-3 has the capacity to become the most authentic out of all profiles because of just the evolutionary process that you go through, which could be tougher than what other profiles have to go through, because there is such a capacity or potential to reach a high degree of authenticity. And I'm sure that takes a lot of trials and tribulations in order to get to that level of like acceptance. And right, because I feel you can't be authentic if you don't have acceptance. So let's just get into this, right? Yeah. Okay. The Ace of Wands is behind the Three of Swords, and I love that. So we start with the Two of Wands. Wands have to do with action. It's the motivation behind the actions that we take, creativity, passion. How are we communicating those things? What actions are we taking towards those things? It's also, I see Wands as being information because, like I said, right, that's what we get by trying things. What works, what doesn't work, what do we like, what don't we like, right? And that's all information. So the Two of Wands is planning for the future. So we start with the Ace of Wands, which is behind the Three of Wands, or the Three of Swords, excuse me. But so we start with the Ace of Wands, which is that spark. It's something new. It's something exciting. It's something that brings you life, right? And the Two of Wands is like, great. Now what do I do? Like, what possibilities are available? It's like, again, planning for future action. So we can see this figure, they're holding the world in their hand, because literally, right? Like, you do have the world at your fingertips at that point, right? I just got kind of that image of like Pinky in the Brain. If you're old enough. for that, but they're always plotting on, how to take over the world, right? And a lot of times, most of the time, their plans get foiled in some capacity, which is a little bit of like how this whole thing feels. So anyway, with the Two of Wands, right? I mean, you could have been planning, you could be planning now. But again, it's like the world is your oyster type of thing. What do you want to do with it, right? And then we have the Devil card underneath there. The Devil is associated to Capricorn. The Hierophant is Taurus. So that's why I was saying, we have fire and earth and a little bit of air out here too. But the Devil card it's that like low integrity, it's the not self, is speaking of, like human design. It's, like obsessions and addictions and even just the things that control us. It could even be illusions. I'm like, let me just make sure. Okay. It could be illusions, right? In one hand, he has a bag of money, and the other hand, he has ice cream. It's like, the things that entice you. So especially with this paired with the Two of Wands, it's like, what is the motivation behind what you're doing or what you want to do? Is it in integrity? Is it authentic to you? Or are you trying to figure out like the ways that you can make a lot of money at one time, or have your desires met in some capacity, but it's kind of the energy surrounding it is not that great. It's coming from, again, the not self theme. Maybe this could have been even somebody else who, dangled a carrot in front of your face, but it turned out to be not a carrot. I can't think of like, a good way to put that. Like you thought it was something good, or, the way that they presented it to you, there was a lot of smoke and mirrors, like maybe they just somehow got over on you in some capacity. So the book says, contrary to what you might think, the devil doesn't represent some evil being who comes in from the outside world to lure and ensnarl us. That would be easier to fight than the reality, which is that each of us has devils that we have created for ourselves. Addiction, bad habits, obsessions, and unhealthy decisions that we cling to long after it is clear that they are leading us in the wrong direction or holding our lives hostage. Temptation can be so hard to resist. Temptation can be so hard to resist. That makes this seem like a scary, hopeless card, but it isn't. We often hold on to the devil we know because we are more comfortable with the negativity and dysfunction we are used to than we are the idea of starting over and creating something better. But you can do it. You chose this devil, and you can choose to say no more. Exactly. Not to mention too, it's like, maybe there was, again, right? Like there could have been something that happened where you thought you were making an informed decision, or maybe you were really, really confident about your decision, and it just turned out to not be. Because even going back to this Tears of Joy and Sadness card, it's like positive and negative. It's information for you, and you had to do it to find out if it was going to work or not. This could even be, when I was reading this combination, I was getting the idea or the thought and feeling of like analysis paralysis, like getting lost in the fantasy of it, or like getting lost And because, right, the Two of Wands, planning for the future, thinking of ideas of what you could do, how you could do it. And with the Devil card, it's like, is there something where it feels better in your mind versus actually going out and doing it? Because then, like, we have this kind of switch that's happening over here. We have the Six of Wands and the Knight of Wands. And the Six of Wands is recognition and success. It's victory after conflict. So it could even be whatever the Two of Wands and the Devil card is, there is still an opportunity to come out of it successful. And again, use it as experience for the next thing, because we never go back to the drawing board. We never start from scratch. We always start from experience. So again, right, the Six of Wands, it's also like remembering where you came from, because, she's holding her flowers there, but she's giving a flower to this older woman here. And who is that person? I don't know, but maybe it was a mentor. Maybe it was somebody who supported them in their darkest hour. Like maybe, it's this feeling of remembering where you came from, giving props to that process, even too. It's like bringing people with you on your come up, basically. And the Knight of Wands, again, we're still talking about wands. So it's the actions that we take, the motivation, creativity, passion, information, like I was saying, right? And the Knight of Wands is a go-getter. They're going to like attack the thing, right? And it's almost kind of like, again, there's only one way to find out. That's the Knight of Wands. And even too, there's this dragon that's up here. It looks like they're going to fight this dragon. And it's just them. There's nobody else that's around. So it's kind of like, this thing, whatever it is your responsibility to tackle. Or at least maybe you feel like it's solely your responsibility to tackle and conquer almost. And he does. I mean, there's the Queen of Wands, and she's like sitting on, of course, she's sitting on the dragon. So I don't know why I feel the need to even show you the card, but we're in it now. Of course it would be. There we are. I'm like, of course it would be way back there. But, right, so there is this accomplishment that happened. So I know, obviously, the Queen of Wands isn't on the table, but I just wanted to show, like, in the progression through the suit of wands, there is that success there in beating the dragon. So this could even be, this recognition comes from beating the dragon, because at first I was like, well, it would be, since the Six of Wands is basically quote unquote first, then, the next step, but it's almost like these two things like go together. I mean, the longer I'm sitting here looking at these cards too, though, like, there's a female presenting witch in this card, male presenting in the Knight of Wands. So it's almost like, somebody could be stealing the spotlight or taking recognition for something that you did, or this could be you taking recognition for something that somebody else did, because it's like, this person is the one that's here getting the praise, the applause, but this person is the one that's actually out there battling this thing. Again, that could be for like a select number of people or person, but it could just be this recognition for like how far you've come, the process that you went through. That's also even like very role model-y too, right? Like you are a role model simply by living, and people may see the way that you live. Of course, depending on where you are in the 6 line process, you could be in the first tier or the first level of the 6 line process if you're under the age of 28 to 30ish, which you're living as a 3-3. And that could be, again, just kind of that chaos, because it's, a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of experience. It's, it can be chaotic. Especially too, like if you see those things as being mistakes, like if you take them personally, if you don't allow yourself to work through the joy and the sadness of the thing, because maybe both things could be present, right? Or you could be in the second phase of being up on the roof, which is after your Saturn return. For the next, 20 years or so, you're up on the roof. And that's when you become more of an observer. You start unpacking a lot of the experiences from your first 30 years of life. What stays? What goes? What did I learn from this? What did I gain from this, right? And then in your 50s, basically after your second Saturn return, you come off of the roof, fully integrated into this role model. All processes are important, right? The first level, whatever tier, if you want to call it that, is important. The second of unpacking that is very important, so that you can be in your full expression of role model, and people would see that in you, and they would come to you and they would ask for your guidance, your experience, and you would be able to tell them. Well, it was quite a ride. But let me tell you, right? Because then we have the Hierophant, which again, that feels very role model-y. So it's cool that I was even kind of talking about that. I wasn't even looking at this card yet. But the Hierophant, we have this figure that's leading a yoga class or session. So it is being a mentor, a guide, a teacher. The Hierophant is like passing along of teaching. It talks about like traditional institutions, traditional teachings, but it's like anything that's been around for a long time, though, too, right? Like it could be human design, it could be astrology, it could be whatever, subject that you're interested in. It could be yoga, of course, too, right? So it's interesting that the Hierophant comes after the 6 of Wands, because again, there's this recognition, like I was saying over here, somebody could have helped you. And it's almost like, now the grasshopper becomes the teacher. Is that, the teacher and the grasshopper, or the, yeah. I think that's how that saying goes. And that's a cycle. That's the cycle of life, right? The grasshopper becomes the teacher eventually, which also fulfills the role of that teacher, right? I mean, they're sitting in, I don't know, is that lotus? But very zen, meditative, right? Which is different than all of these other cards. So this almost even too feels like getting quiet so that you can unpack things, and maybe you are going to go into a completely different direction, or just be in a completely different state, for like state of being. I mean, state could be location too, but I meant state of being. Because we have the Knight of Swords in the reverse, and I keep hearing in my head, it's like what you thought to be true is no longer. So it's like it's discovering a new truth, or like again unpacking this whole thing over here, Because, swords have to do with our thoughts, its ideas, its inspiration, truth, honesty, but like divine truth, divine honesty. I also see swords as being the suit of ego, because that's generally where we hear our ego is in our minds. And our ego is created by the stories that we attach to experiences, to feelings, to memories, whether they're our stories or not. Maybe somebody told us a certain thing about ourselves or about a situation, and we believed that to be true, and we took that on as part of our identity and personality. But it's actually not, like the truth, or the truth for us, which again is like unpacking all of those things so that you can reach this level of authenticity. It also, becomes the reason why we do and don't do certain things. So with a Knight of Swords coming out in the reverse, upright, it generally talks about putting an idea into practice. That's the fastest moving knight in the whole deck. Try this again. Right? I mean, we can just kind of see it's like they're zooming forward. They have the Ace of Swords here. They have their truth, right? They have what they believe to be true, at least. And they are moving forward. Like these birds are all trying to get out of their way, right? But in the reverse, it's like, maybe this whole thing, this whole process has somehow dismantled something that you thought was true. Maybe that had to do with a specific person. Maybe that just had to do with you and what you thought you wanted out of the situation or out of your life or whatever, right? But it's like, especially with it paired with the Hierophant, some level of teaching, some research that you did, something that you maybe again was even passed down onto you. You're like, I'm not entirely sure how I actually feel about that thing anymore. And then we have the Three of Swords at the bottom of the deck. And I love this Three of Swords specifically because there's nobody in this card. So it's kind of, the Three of Swords generally talks about heartbreak, disappointment, rejection, but more so, again, like the stories that we attach to those feelings, to those experiences, right? It's not the feelings because it's swords. It's how we think about it, how it lives in our minds. What is our perception of those events happening, right? And in this card specifically, there's this journal that's closed. The ink is spilled out. There's nobody even in this bed, which tells me they've already processed the way that they are perceiving this thing. And it's like they're not allowing themselves to get stuck in that energy because they're gone. They're moving on. They've journaled. That's a great thing, just to get it out of your head, to get it out of your thoughts, because I know for me personally, the longer something like spins around in my head, the larger that it gets and just out of control. But the moment that I write it down, or even just, I'll use a Word document in my laptop to write everything down, write every feeling down. That's how I quit smoking, actually. Is like when I first made the decision to quit smoking, I carried around a notebook with me, and every time I had a craving, I would write down specifically what that craving was. Like, what is a thought that's going through my mind at that point? I would write it down. And every like success too, like I had a full-time job at the time, so I would be like, it's 7:30 in the morning and I still haven't smoked. It's, 7:45 in the morning and I still haven't smoked. So, I was like writing down my successes. It's day 1, it's day 2. I made it to bedtime without smoking. Again, I would write down every craving. I would write down everything that tried to come into my mind that would get me to smoke again, like every habit. And even like there was this Olive Garden commercial, and no shit, so this Olive Garden commercial came on, and just automatically I got up out of the chair that I was sitting in, walked over to my counter, which is where I kept my cigarettes, because I was like just in autopilot. So I got up, I walked over to the counter looking for my pack of cigarettes, and I'm eventually, like, after a couple seconds or whatever, I was like, what the hell am I doing? So it's just so interesting, even just to kind of see those patterns that we create around certain things. And even particular, like even to this reading, the patterns or the way that we make decisions, or that we do plan for our futures, right? Again, where is that energy coming from? Is the motivation behind those things a recognition, or is the motivation, like with this Knight of Wands? So the Six of Wands, there's all these people around, praising, recognizing, acknowledging. And the Knight of Wands, nobody is around to see this person and how they do it, right? So it's like, what is the motivation behind why we do the things that we do? Are you looking for recognition, or are you in for the adventure and the ability to conquer a goal and reach a goal that you have, right? And that could even be what's kind of putting you into this, like, what are my values? What are my ideals? What do I believe to be true, right? So again, even talking about this Three of Swords, you're processing through it though. You're recognizing almost even kind of too, like, what makes you who you are. And then there's this Ace of Wands that comes after it, which again, like I said at the beginning, is that spark. It's this new passion. It's all these possibilities show up for you. And then, like I said, with the Two of Wands, you're like, okay, now what do I do with this? Like, what possibilities are there available for being able to go towards and try these things? The Five of Wands, a lot of wands, like I said, right? But this could be the girls are fighting, even the cats are fighting. But it's like everybody has an idea, everybody has an opinion, but nobody is like listening to anybody else. So if that ends up happening, but this card also talks about like retraining yourself, reconditioning yourself. And it does take a lot of almost even like kind of arguing with yourself and these like different identities that we've created down the road, or, just different layers of the onion to go through. Because you'll start to realize like, oh my God, like I didn't even realize I had this belief either in myself or other people, or, just again, following like your own breadcrumbs. The Lovers card, even too, like, I mean, the Lovers card is about making connection. It's also about making decisions. And, but it's more so like the balance between the masculine and feminine, not the genders, but the energies. So the masculine of initiating, going and getting, protecting, giving, right? With the feminine of intuition and going with the flow and receiving, and also even just reproduction, right? But the balance between those two, and we each have feminine and masculine energies within ourselves. So you could be finding that balance within yourself. You could be finding it with another person, of course, too. But, it's kind of like that RuPaul saying at the end of every drag race, right? If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? So again, right, it's getting yourself right. And the Judgment card is that transformation, marching to the beat of your own drum, the transformation that you've gone through in this whole process. The Six of Swords is moving forward, moving on, not taking much with you, just what you need. the Ace of Pentacles is also, it feels like a new adventure, but it's definitely something new in the physical plane coming in. It could be a new job, it could be a new house, it could be again, right, there is this energy of moving forward, moving on to something else. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. I will talk to you soon.